I'm Jessie Sale, a business journalist from SBC, and today I'm joined by Alex Kornilov from BETEGY. How are you doing? Thanks for joining.
Hi, I'm pretty good. How are you?
Good. So, firstly, how have you enjoyed the event so far?
Amazing event, in general, and I can tell not from a perspective of the visitor, but the perspective of the exhibitor. And I like SBC events a lot, and this one is the first event where we exhibit as an exhibitor after the COVID. And usually you have certain worries how it will go. Will be enough people? How people will interact? Will they be open? And what I see after this long period of wait, now the event itself is more open. People are more willing to discuss things, do business, get deals done. So enjoying it so far.
So why do you think it's important to exhibit at events such as this one?
I think communication between people is so important in meeting face to face, because we have an experience of doing business for 2 years without personal meetings, and that was fine. But important factor here is actually the meeting people, shaking their hand, seeing who those people are, and getting the trust. And I think trust is the most important part here, because obviously you can acquire services or information or anything else digitally online through Zoom meetings. But when you meet a person, spend 15 minutes with him, you scan and feel and the person differently. So whether you can define whether you can trust the person, whether you can trust the company, are you satisfied with the communication, and it actually helps to facilitate the conversations and business and partnerships and development of the communication in general. So I think it's a very, very important stuff.
So yesterday's horse racing panel, what was the main takeaway from that?
Many good points. The main takeaway for me personally was that actually the industry should evolve if they want to tackle the mass market. They need to change the ways they present themselves and all the business as usual will not work to attract mainstream customers and the younger generation, and to make it popular. I think it requires a change in the level of organizations, and I think it will be quite hard to do this, and it might be that the horse racing business will stay as it is, because those changes, there are not many external factors which push organizations to do this change. And what we see on the panel yesterday, the conversation was all about what is here and there and how it's good or not good, but there are no actions discuss what we can do, because all those actions need to have other factors in place in order to execute them. So for example, more diverse organization which owns more tracks, who can put on stake more investment to get the popularization of the sport and invest in the sport and so on. So I would say it was an interesting discussion.
And how can increased focus on content boost horse racing's audience?
I think the story is the king still, so we need to expose the event itself in more details and get access. The customers on other side of the screen who will not the customers, but the readers, people who are consuming the content, they would need to have more insight into it, and not only in the perspective of betting, but also in perspective of life stories of the stable, of the jockeys, of horses, of the event in general. Why is this event important? How does it fit in historical retrospective? What is going on? So new customers and new audiences can get into this and support actually not the betting itself per se or the action of the horse, but rather follow the personality. And this works well with any other sport, and no doubt it will work for this sport as well, because people connect to other people, not to events itself. If you have someone you will root for this person, you will be excited, you will check the environment around, and then it will facilitate the betting in the industry in general too.
With the World Cup coming up, what plans have you got in place for your content and ad tech services?
You see, in terms of our technology, what we enable people is to do personalization, and we did it already for years before this World Cup, but I see that the technologies and platforms, they need to mature inside the industry in order to be mass market, to get the mass market adoption. So we started personalization actually 7-8 years ago with our first service in cooperation with betting operators and media companies. But what happened is that now you see it more and more. So even the World Cup, is a pretty big event, and everyone has their own team to follow. But personalization should go beyond the team which you follow. Actually, you need to follow your athletes, you need to follow the teams of your rivals, and also important part of this are sharing and how people share the experiences around this event together with their friends, together with other groups and communities. And I think that's where we are pushing with our customers and our clients, where we'll help them to personalize, share the experience, and get the engagement on a new level, which is all around this event, but also around the people who, behind the screen, so person per se, what are his priorities and what he likes, what he doesn't like, what he will bet on. So for example, there are people who bet on corners, there are people who bet on a full-time score, live betting, and all of these things, they build a profile and persona, and we're able to, our services helps to unlock those powers inside of this insights. Yeah?
How important is it for operators to ensure that their content is supported by efficient data?
I would say, even taking a horse racing as an example, if you compare more professional leagues and more structured leagues like NFL, MLB, NBA, football leagues, FIFA, we have more sources of official content and data. And for example, now we're doing an integration for a lot of horse racing events, and unfortunately the official content or data is scattered. So it's hard to put our hands on the sources which we can connect, and because of that, our product can perform as much as we have data. So you're limited by amount of data points coming in and what experience you can make out of it. So you have 3-4 data points which you can get on a live basis, like odds, some statistics, and some additional facts, historical facts. You are able to create an experience out of those 4 factors. But if we take a regular season of NFL, you have thousands of data points. So the discussions, the content around the event is so more like, it just goes deeper and allows presenters and people who create the content, creators themselves, to go beyond the typical discussion of who will win and who will lose. They can analyze the players, they can go in their heat maps, they can go inside and see what's going on the level of coaches and dynamics of the teams and trends. And this creates way more engaging experience. So I would say it's very, very, very important to get the official content and official data to the market, so market can reflect and put it even further.
That's all. That was really interesting. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.